Alright, I think we're good. Welcome everyone, BJ Wilder back with you for another episode of the Tyrian Adventures. We are at episode 52. So when this episode actually gets published to YouTube, we'll be at a year of running the vids. We will be at a year, and Guild Wars Prophecies will have turned 11. And of course, that means we'll be starting to upload our Cynn adventures as well. But since we're doing this live way before then, let's get on with it. Here we are in the desert. It's been a while since I've actually been able to get back on the live stream. Of course, we had, if you're watching this via the live stream, just a week or so ago, the Cynn New Year. So we took a break from the Tyrian adventures to go play in Cynn for a bit before we actually start our Cynn adventures. If you're watching this on YouTube, well, that was a couple months ago, eh? And at that point, we're looking forward to the Dragon Festival in a couple of months. But regardless, okay, here we are in Olgri Rock. I think what I had originally planned to do was explore this region here, then head up here to see if I can finally get into the mission outpost that is up in here. So basically explore this central region and then get the north out of the way. As well as a few quests, so let's get on with it. Time's a wasting. We need to rock and roll. We need to rock and roll. Now there is a mission here. Yes, meet our friends in Skyward Reach. Which we shall do forthwith. As soon as I go over here to do our usual map clearing. And again, as I was discussing with some of our viewers in a previous episode here, one of the things that's sort of lacking in factions and Nightfall is the involvement of the core NPCs here in the game. Again, all the henchmen in all the campaigns that we have to journey with are somewhat just there. We don't really know much of their backstory, except of course for when these guys do become available as henchmen at one point or another, if I recall. But for the most part, all the henchmen are just you know, unknown NPC characters that you don't really get a feel for who they are. That kind of stuff. They really have no significance to the story, whereas at least these guys in Prophecies sort of linger on in the background throughout the story. Of course, they all play much bigger parts in pre-searing, but nevertheless, through the entire campaign, they are there, and in little things like this, we still get a little bit more involvement with them. Which pretty much all but vanishes in the succeeding two campaigns and Eye of the North as well. Oh yes, very good. Perhaps, Aiden, perhaps. Of course, now this is going under the assumption that all the main people here also attempt to ascend as well. Of course, we get a bit of a look at the actual mission area. Basically, this quest was a bit of a introduction to the final Ascension mission. Just letting you know, hey, there's something special about this place. More so than it just being an outpost, which we discover later, of course. Now, amazingly enough, as I was playing through the Cantha New Year, the thought occurred to me that even up to this point, I was still playing with Henchis. Nightfall and the hero system was still a few months off, at least at this point. I don't remember exactly when I actually got to the desert. But I know even through most of factions up to the point to where, pretty much up to I got to the point of the Zu Hanaku mission. It was all Henchis up to that point. Because it was really with the Zu Hanaku mission that, and the lack of having an interrupter in that mission drove home the point that, you know, henchmen are a little bit lacking. Especially compared to heroes, but I don't think it was too much further along here. I think by the time I got to the desert with at least the bulk of all my characters, heroes weren't too far off. We were, I think, pretty much on the verge of the release of Nightfall. So it may have been right around the desert time that right around the time I got to the desert that Nightfall was released and I started gaining the heroes. You know what, maybe not, because I do remember going through a lot of these missions with actually trying to find a group so I could get through them. So it was probably after the desert. It probably wasn't until I got to the southern Shuka Peaks then. That probably would have been about a year and a half. It's probably about the time then. So I do remember forming a pug group for one of the missions here in the desert, and we kept failing and failing, so we ended up buying a mission. Of course, unbeknownst to me, we were actually buying a mission, because nobody told me we were actually buying a run through the mission, so of course I did not bring the requisite payment. And so I ended up not being able to finish the mission. So I had to log out so everybody else could finish the mission who actually paid, because they never told me. So yeah, it was definitely after that point. So I was still not, so it was still less than a year and a half. Not quite time of Nightfall. I was here in the desert first time around. Hello, Zyro. Welcome to the stream. Getting stuck on these dunes. Run, 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 run. Okay, so that takes us back into the salt flats, which we don't need to go through. I think I got most of the salt flats cleared out. Right? Because that part, I think, is there. Well, we'll find out soon enough. Can we not go down there? I guess we can't. This was one of the annoying things I found about the desert, right? Like right here, there should be no reason that we shouldn't be able to just walk down this dune and go in there, but obviously that is not meant to be. What? Oh, centaurs. Yes, indeed, Zyro. Yeah, that was it's hard sometimes, especially in certain corners of the stuff, to really see if you've actually cleared the map out or not. Plus, this, I mean, on the overhead map, this obviously looks like a nice clear pathway to get down, but no, obviously it is not, is it? And of course that Kyning City in factions is a lot of the same way as well. Alright, I guess what we'll do is might actually be easier to go up, take the transport now, because I can always come back to Augury and finish the rest of Skyward Reach from Augury. Instead of looping all the way down, then coming back up north. That might actually save myself some time doing it this way. Alright, so where are we at here? Yeah. There. There. And we go there. still suck. Was one of the annoying things about Prophecies that as much as it was probably the most open in terms of freedom of exploration, still a lot of invisible walls and a linear pathway, more or less. That is where we go up to that one. So now, let me see here. I think there should be another portal there, so we'll clear out up to that point. And then backtrack. Ah, there we go. Now we can get down there, huh? What I have noticed... Yeah, jump, yeah. What I have noticed, though, is that throughout playing the campaigns, it always seems to be one of those things that never fails. That there's some patrol or some little group that you can that looks like you can avoid, but no, you try to go around, and all of a sudden there's this little bump of an outcrop of a rock or a building or something that forces you just within aggro range of that group that's just standing there that you don't really want to fight. And there's no other way around. And I'm sure that was done purposefully. There's much more here than I thought. It's got to be up that way, so I'm just going to go up that way. We'll save the rest of that for when we go back to Augury. Of course, I don't think you can get down this way. I've got to backtrack a little bit, but we can do this. Ah, there's the healer. Nope, we don't want to run that way yet, thank you. And of course that throws me right into the fire. That should be one of the sides of the old ships, I presume. Sort of reminiscent of of some scenery in Nightfall, really. Bowman. Notches. Oh, the glory of the Minion Master makes areas so much easier to get through. Which is probably why it took me so long to actually get through these areas initially. Just on the Henchy route. There's, of course, for this video segment, where we make use of our heroes and stuff on occasion. Definitely speeds things up a bit. Alright, that's good enough for the exploration there, so let's pop on up here. And here we go, Devona's Ascent, okay. Yeah, Minion Masters, I think, even before the advent of the hard mode, you could actually call Minion Masters the easy mode. As a Minion Master with you, you had your meat shields there. That took a lot of pressure off you as a player. Whether you had, whether you were a pug with a Minion Master or, you're going in with henchies and stuff like that. If you had the ability to have a Minion Master with you, that took a lot of pressure off. Especially in these areas now, basically from the desert on, where things really ramped up from the desert onwards. Desert, the southern Sugar Peaks, and of course the Ring of Fire. Welcome, Hadu. Yes, indeed. One of the reasons why I decided to start this little video series up back in April for the 10th anniversary of the original game. Just to recapture some of those memories and go through and see what things I do remember and reminisce basically as I go through. Somewhat from scratch. Of course, as I said, I have cheated a little bit by using, an occasional high-level friend and making use of heroes where necessary, just for the sake of speeding things up for each video episode. The one thing that I always had difficulty with was, okay, so he is the Ranger. That was the one thing I always had difficulty with the bosses was the greens between Ranger and Mehnlo. A little bit difficult to discern. So you didn't necessarily know right off the bat whether you're dealing with the spellcaster or with the Ranger boss. Indeed, Zyro. That was one of the things that initially attracted me to the game. You know, I dabbled in MMOs here and there, but of course, you know, back then during the glory days, you know, playing an MMO could be an expensive habit, even, you know, and this even before the advent of cash shops. I was somewhat adverse to paying $15 a month for a game that I already bought. So why am I going to continue to pay to play this game when I bought it? Of course, coming from years-long single-player perspective, where I bought a game, I owned it. I could play it whenever I want, however I wanted, etc., etc. So the fact of having to pay a monthly fee to continue to play the game sort of was bizarre to me. So even though I dabbled, thanks mostly in part to a lot of friends who lent me their accounts every now and again for me to play, I really didn't get heavily into the MMO scene until Guild Wars, where it was buy it once and play it forever without having to pay again. I thought, what a capital idea! And of course, thanks to ArenaNet, they proved that you don't need a monthly fee to make a really good game. MMO or otherwise, just a really good game to play. And of course, part of that, of course, was their henchman system, to where they said, hey, it's going to be an online game, it's going to be like an MMO, but it's still very single-player friendly. And I think both of those things, of course, coupled with the fact that it is a really good game, really well made, attributes to the longevity of it. And the fact that despite, you know, Guild Wars 2 being out and about, why this game still retains some of that popularity. And there is still always that disparity between people who love this game and love Guild Wars 2. They love them for different reasons, and they don't necessarily love the other game. Or even like the other game. And overall, just looking at some of the original, you know, it's still popping into the original forums every once in a while. We still... The fan forums, of course, before there were, you know, official forums. I don't know why I'm zigging back and forth. I'm distracting myself. You'll find there's still probably more people here who only play Guild Wars and just don't like Guild Wars 2 than there are who are fans of both games. And you'll still see the occasional post where someone is new to the game, either coming from Guild Wars 2 to learn about, you know, the lore, so to speak, or just people who've never played either and just happen to come upon the game. Well, yes, Zyro, that is essentially the part of it, and that was, you know, I think that's part of the big disparity why you have fans of one or the other and not really both, because they are Guild Wars 1 and Guild Wars 2, and and ArenaNet admittedly, admitted to this during the development of Guild Wars 2, where Guild Wars 2 is, in essence, an entirely different game. Even though, Colin at that one point famously stated they took everything that we loved about Guild Wars 1 and put into Guild Wars 2, which, I mean, obviously, for some people that may be true, but, as I've mentioned before during these episodes, that is patently false for me. It's like much of the stuff I loved about Guild Wars 1 never made it into Guild Wars 2, be it one of the professions or the companion system that we have here with heroes and henchmen and stuff like that. The diversity of builds, the freedom you had to create builds, pretty much anything you could possibly think of in terms of build composition, really. Now, of course, I've said before, it is understandable from a balance point of view why they did what they did with Guild Wars 2, but at least go along with, say here about the ability to play as a solo player this game, and the bulk of the game still being, playable regardless of your skill as a player. I don't want to say easy, but the ease of which you can get through the bulk of this game allows for you to play build combinations that aren't really ideal, but are just fun to play. Which is like I've mentioned this before in earlier episodes, is that my builds are hardly ideal. They're just ones that hey, let me try something. Is this going to be fun to play? Now, I don't go into creating characters and builds with an idea of, is this going to make my life easier, or is this going to be the most efficient way to get through a certain area? It's, hey, this might be fun and cool to play around with in terms of all these skills, so that's the way I do it. And thankfully, for the most part, the game allows you to do that. But yeah, as we were saying, Guild Wars 2 is much more the MMO in the traditional sense, where I think even ArenaNet sort of didn't tout this game, at least in the beginning, didn't really tout this game as being an MMO, but I always seem to remember them and other people using the term of the CO RPG. It's more of a cooperative type of gameplay, where your traditional MMO wasn't always necessarily that, unless you were in a guild or grouping up for some common cause. And of course, many MMO traditionalists never saw it as an MMO because of the instancing. There's, of course, with Guild Wars 2, they went more the traditional route with the open world areas and that kind of stuff. Which, for me, I guess I'm one of those people who find things to enjoy about all sorts of design decisions in MMOs. I enjoy an open world MMO as much as I enjoy Guild Wars 1. But I think that comes along with playing the game as it is, as opposed to trying to play the game to match certain expectations I might have of it, which you'll find in the MMO community tends to be very lacking. I mean, a lot of the new MMOs like Star Wars: The Old Republic and stuff like that, you'll find, you go to the forums, especially with Star Wars: The Old Republic, a lot of people went into that game expecting certain things out of it that weren't necessarily in the original design plans. It was never really going to be the game that they wanted it to be. And of course, you'll always go into the forums and find people who want the game changed to be more suited to their style instead of playing the game for what it is. I guess I should have gone the other way. It's so bloody long since I've been here. You don't have to be good. Welcome to the stream, by the way, Kane Cravings. You don't have to be good, you just have to have fun. Of course, if you're in a great raid group, your fellow party members might not agree, necessarily agree with that. Obelisks to which we've never really learned the purpose, I think. Right, indeed. Okay. As heroes, they do help in some ways, but in other ways they are still decidedly lacking. And of course that due to some of the weaknesses in the AI in the game. Yeah, I haven't done Winds of Change either. I think, well, partly because I wanted to sort of try to get through the storyline somewhat in order. but also because of some of the changes that the Winds of Change make to some of the explorable areas and factions. Okay, that clears out the southern part now, right? Yeah, it should be good. Yeah, I think Zyro has a point with that. What do we got there? Bleach Carapace. Hang on. That's got to be the mission area. That's what that is. Where'd you go? You were right there. You are, Ghosty. Nothing useful. As usual. That's actually a good idea, Zara. That would be cool. Yeah, many of the things that would have been cool to add to this game had they continued development on it. You know, not the least of which is the third chapter to the Beyond saga, taking place in Nightfall. But yeah, boss is dropping armor schematics. Yeah, that actually would be a cool idea. Yeah. Yeah, ironically enough, Prophecies is the biggest campaign too in terms of explorable areas. In factions wasn't, I don't think, or was it nearly as big? I forget how that went. I mean, at least just from the terms of playing through it, doesn't seem factions to be as big, and I think they got back to that a little bit for Nightfall, but I think out of the three, Prophecies is still the largest campaign. Yeah, that is, yeah. Yeah, the fact that Nightfall Beyond, yeah, from what I understand, it was pretty much complete. They just, you know, just the details and the implementation needed to be worked on. But then the team was taken to Guild Wars 2. And the real shame of it now is that pretty much anyone working on Guild Wars 2 really has no knowledge of this game. Of course, I mean, they still have some core people who do come on and do the bug fixes and things like that for the original Guild Wars. And of course, there's, like, you know, guys like Colin who've been here for pretty much the whole tenure. But I do remember there was one of the fan sites was supposed to do an interview with one of the developers, and they were primarily going to ask about, you know, stuff like Nightfall Beyond and that kind of stuff about Guild Wars, the original Guild Wars. And ArenaNet, after initially accepting to do the interview and stuff like that, once they saw what the content was going to be about, they declined to do the interview, because essentially whoever the fan site was going to interview had no idea, had no knowledge, so to speak, about Guild Wars 1, which is a real shame. And it's pretty much one of the reasons, too, why at this point I'd rather have ArenaNet just leave the game alone at this point. Just keep the servers up. That's all I care about. Just keep the game running. Because most of the team, in all honesty, I don't want the current team touching this game, because they're the ones who made Guild Wars 2. I don't want them messing this up. As much as I'd like to see new content, I'd rather see it appropriate content for... Come on there. Where are you going? I want him. Get out of the way. I want him. Thank you. So as I was saying, it's like, yeah, I'd love to have new content for this game, but I do not want the current ArenaNet doing that content. If you want to get the old gang back together, yeah, I would love that, but no. I'd rather just have them keep the servers on at this point. Man, there are a lot more bosses up here than I remember. course, I don't think any of these guys have elites either. That doesn't start, I think, till the Southern Sugar Peaks. However, the bosses in the desert missions do have elites, so we will actually be able to finally complete that quest once I do one of those missions. Yeah, that's the one. That is the one sad part that, you know, despite, you know, whether people thought this was, you know, consider this an MMO or not, you know, this game, I mean, I'm not much of a PvPer. I'm a dabbler, more or less. Again, simply because, you know, I play to have fun and not necessarily create the builds that are going to be the most effective or efficient. So, obviously, for me to play PvP would be a detriment to everybody. But, you know, I do dabble. I used to dabble here and there. But, yeah, this game really had a good core, solid PvP element that the devs backed and encouraged. That was, I mean, that was fantastic for this game. And it's really a shame to lose that, because there are, I mean, a lot of good PvP to be had with how they set it up in this game. I mean, I remember after they implemented the observer mode, I used to go and just to watch PvP, because it was just so entertaining to watch it. Yeah, and the splitting of skills, I think, was... Oh, I better get out of the way here. Let's do that, too. Yeah, the splitting of skills, I think, was completely necessary, and I think obviously benefit both PvP and PvE. Because they, you know, PvE and PvP are two really different gameplay types, and you can't really balance both of them together. So I think the splitting of skills was really a good idea that they didn't, I think maybe didn't get as much credit for as they should have. And it really spoiled me, because you figure it's like all the MMOs I play now that actually don't do that. Again, I don't PvP all that much, but now I'm just following some of the forum things, stuff like that. When balance changes are made, that's still the biggest complaint. You know, one skill gets an adjustment for PvP that just kills it in PvE. Kill him for the gold he carries. That's right, owner. Yeah, I think you're right. And I think, you know, despite all the hatred that Izzy got, I always said on the forums, whenever the balance changes and complaints and stuff like that came up, I said I never envied Izzy his job. Being a skill balancer in an MMO's probably got to be one of the most thankless jobs ever. Although I do have to... Oh, good. Some unlucky points for a change. I mean, although I do... The fact that, you know, they nerfed a couple of those skills into the ground to make them all, you know, basically unusable, I think was not the right direction to take. But I think overall, I mean, they did the best job they could. And it really showed. Welcome there, Katsukumi, back into the stream. Hey, I still don't envy him, though. I mean, the one thing that irked me wasn't necessarily a skill balance thing, but was the pet, in terms of Ranger, was the pet corpse nerf. I thought that was the stupidest change that they ever made in this game. To where, no, I cannot, you know, if I was a Ranger Necro, I could not exploit my own pet's corpse to create a minion. And yet, all the NPC Beastmasters, their pets can be exploited at will. That irks me to no end. Thanks, Kat. I will, once I start running these missions here, I think we'll have to arrange so you can run the desert missions with me. I just gotta see how much more I want to map clear before I start doing the actual missions. So this should be, I don't even, well, we'll find out which outpost this one is. Elona Reach. I think this is the one I had mentioned where I bought that run without realizing I was buying a run. Of course, that was the group I was with who bought it, actually. Is this the one? Yeah, I'm pretty sure this was the one. We have unlocked our first mission in the desert, thank God. So I think I got Diviners all cleared out. Salt Flats is all cleared out. So that's just a little bit of Elona Reach there, and that just leaves Skyward Reach. Yeah. Yeah, people who did that pretty much took a page out of all the Trapper NPCs, because that's essentially what the Trapper NPCs do. They just lay all their traps down and hope you run into them. Which, I guess, I am shamefully woeful to admit that I've done on more than one occasion back in the day. Even when I knew they were frickin' trappers, too. And another one of the changes was the changes to how spirits work. You can only have one spirit of each type up. That sort of annoyed, especially in terms, that annoyed me in terms of the ritualists. Especially when you have a couple of those ritualist spirits that do some healing and do some utility work, to where if you've got two ritualists in your group, well, if you know they both want to run that one spirit for some reason, they can't, because you can only have one up at a time. Alright, oh, that's the only exit out of here to Skyward, isn't it? I keep thinking there's one on the other side of Augury, but there isn't. Oh, you know what? Let me go complete that quest first. Let's do that while I'm here. Why, thank you. Thanks, Jorn, for inspiring me in such confidence. You are also enchanted. That's one of the parts I know that's cleared out, but it doesn't look it. Oh, yeah, illusionary weaponry mesmers, yeah. Again, a lot of those fun and interesting builds you can play around with. Gave the game flavor and spice. Crikey, how long? No, it's not. Age isn't going to tell me, is it? Now that I've zoned. We're already coming up on an hour, I think. Over an hour. See now, of course, here we can go up. In other areas, we can't get up that little hill now, can we? This little offshoot that really goes nowhere. Alright, these guys are the warriors. That's right, the Griffins and Southern Shiver Peaks are the Spellbreakers. Yeah, they definitely had some good artists here. Although there were a couple skills, I think. I forget what they are now. There were, it wasn't in Prophecies, it might have been Factions or Nightfall, where sort of the art for the skill, I thought for a couple of skills were better if they had switched between the two. One thing I did like, though, back on the original wiki, I don't think it was the official wiki, but it was the fan-based wiki. I think it was either Frenzy or Fury, the one with the warrior skill with the guy, like, you know, in the screaming shout. They ended up using that artwork as a thing to where they used it as it's not a freaking reference, to where at one point everybody was editing wiki to include what they thought were pop culture references for every little thing in the game. So this guy got fed up with that, and so he used that skill to say it was not a freaking reference. Oh, that's right. That's sort of an AoE if you hit it right. Armor penetration is the key there. Oh, you know what? I think he has me on offline. So I was playing around with that, and I forgot to put it back to online. There we go. That's good. I like that. Light bulb. Oh! Damn these hydras. Gotta remember these things being such a pain in the ass before heroes came along. Yeah, borderless pass. Yeah, well, back when I was in the northern Shiver Peaks, I think my favorite part of Prophecies, well, and I mentioned this when I was there, was the Beacon's Perch. I think it was my favorite place to hang out, just because the multiple levels there in the outpost. And I always thought, sort of the northern Shiver Peak sort of looked the prettiest in the post-searing world. Okay, so let's just... There shouldn't be any other mission spots here. So what do I want to do? I gotta figure out which way I want to go here. And I think I'm going to fight first. Fuck. That was not the place for me to stop. Oh. I probably should kill a Hydra first. There we go. Oh, more bleached bones. First, where are you going to take me? Oh, of course, right in the middle of the Hydras. Bastards. Now, ironically enough, when I was going through all my alts for the Cantha New Year, I found more and more that the friggin' screwy builds I have for them So I think I've got more characters that actually use an elite for their secondary profession than they do for their primary profession. I still haven't decided what the hell I'm going to do here. Alright, let's pick a path here. Basically just want to circle around. Circle around here. So I guess I'm closer here, so I guess we'll just go here. Just loop back up that way. Alrighty then. And I think that should cover us good enough for this episode. That actually should all be... Looks like it's nice and cleared out now. Didn't want to go through, so we'll go that way. Then we'll go see what the bleached bones say. I did want to go see them anyway, didn't I? They were way back there, weren't they? Son of a gun! Let me finish reading. I thought that someone someday might tell my family what finally became of me. I'm sorry, Mother. I should have listened to you. Chances are she's dead now, too. Indeed. Although really, kind of ironic when you read that kind of stuff, because it wasn't too long ago up where was it? Up here in Devona's Ascent. Well, the ghost was a collector, but still. How many times have we run through any of these campaigns of the games and just had random NPCs just standing around in the middle of mobs unharmed? What's everybody worried about? They only attack us. I'll get up there somehow. Is this the one that circles around? I think this is the one that circles around, isn't it? Freaking no. Oh, you're moving out of the way. All right. Little attack, you. I actually need to go right about in here, just to make sure. That ought to do it. Yeah. Nope. 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 They didn't bleed as they aggro everybody else, but that's alright. Nope, somebody dropped money. Well, I missed that little part up there, didn't I? So we actually can't go around the back of this thing. Or can we? Can we? I don't remember. Oh, yeah, we can. All right. That's right. There's a portal there that allows us to do it. Oh yeah, the seed. Yes, that is the, if I remember which, yeah, here we go. It should be the, that's not what I want. That's the one I want. Nope, that's not the one I want. That's the one I want. That's not the one I want. That's the button I want. There it is. Yeah, that is the pre-order seed. This is a nice one. It's one thing I'll give them for a lot of the pre-order stuff. They came up with unique skins, and you can't get them anywhere else. So in fact, I think I got Corbin using the Rhino's head, which isn't one of the. I don't think it was one of the pre-orders, but it was that Coke Play thing, which you can actually buy that through the store. Now I gotta remember what keybind that was. Yeah, the Sundering Rhinos charge. I remember for the longest time, when I was, Corbin was actually my second, I created Hannock first for the betas, but then I actually played Corbin as my main once the game launched. And for the longest time, I used the Canton Targe as his shield. Alright, that's an easy pattern. Before I turned him into a hammer warrior. But I did have Hannock use the sensors icon for a while too. The only unfortunate part about the pre-order stuff was that it was only useful for up to the mid-levels. I would surely still love to be using some of that stuff. They did update, however, they did update the original Ranger's bow, though. Used to have some weird, almost unusable, stat that made it difficult to use, I should say. But then they updated the stat on it at some point. I just wish they did that to all the other pre-order stuff. I forgot how long it takes to actually clear this area. I'm not going to worry about that, because eventually I'll be going through that portal anyway at some point. That's all pretty clear up there anyway, so it's just that little bit there. So we'll run there and we'll call it an episode. Yeah, that was the one thing about the armor. Especially a lot of the elite armor. I just never liked the look of a lot of the elite armor, so never even bothered to get it until, of course, they came out with the Hall of Monuments and made the elite armor the requirement for putting stuff in there. Otherwise, I never would have bothered with some of the elite armor. I think some of my favorite armor, though, is would be the exotic armor in Cantha. Like the one for the ritualist with the leopard print. Female, for the female writ, looked pretty cool. So naturally, I've got that on my female ritualist. Alright, that pretty much clears out Skyward now. We're in good shape there. Oh, did I lose sound? That's right, we're almost done anyway, so we will call this an episode. So we take one more look at the rock. This means something. This is important. Alright, that'll be that. Back to, let's see, where am I going to go back to? So that all determines on what I want to do next. I sort of want to save the missions for last. I want to get all the exploration done first. Because each mission just throws us back into augury. So unlike some of the other missions to where they'll throw you into the actual next storyline mission post, this one keeps throwing you back to augury. I think what I'll do is pop on over to Hero's Audience and we'll do the southern areas. That way I can, because I know, I'm pretty sure Thirsty River is the one that's down here. Sure, we'll go there. Button, right button. Okay, good. So we'll say this is a good solid episode under our belts. Episode 52. 52 weeks. If you're watching on YouTube, of course. Not quite that point of time doing a live stream, since I can do a couple live streams a week on occasion. But anyway, thank you everyone for joining us today. It's been grand. Oh, there we go, 2 hours. Yeah, that sounds about right. I was fooling around a little bit at first. Yeah, we're about an hour and a half at least for the stream, so that is good enough. So thank you everyone for joining us. Actually,